Are on because it takes a little bit delay. Okay, we are live right now on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and YouTube is still sending data. So I think we should be good. So we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to Fireside Chat with me. And today I have my guest, Cisse, and he has been a guest on my podcast for the first season of the podcast, and I am going through the list of guests and people that I've talked before to just really bring them on and talk about the recent updates of their business and ask them about their views of where their business going and where they see online publishing is going and just entrepreneurship journey in general. So welcome everybody. We are live through on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook group. If you are watching replay right now, feel free to comment and ask questions. But I go live every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And on my live, I talk about side hustle, entrepreneurship, and just mindset of publishing things online and how to become more just courageous to start publishing online, just like what I'm doing right now. So it's a little challenge for myself to start posting stuff online as well. And I want to welcome our guest. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Mimi. It's
Yeah.
always a pleasure to catch up with you and try to add as much value as we can to other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also I say for me, it's the process of just being courageous and posting stuff online and give value to people and actually giving, the things that we know, to the public and actually decentralize the knowledge. Like we don't need to hold it within us, but actually share with everybody. And I want to
Agree.
say so sorry. Actually, under my name, it says The Real Abhinav. We have not changed that, but it's okay. You can follow The Real Abhinav as well. That's my husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what have you been doing with since last
hmm
time we talked about with your brand and
hmm
where is it going? Yeah, just give us a little bit update.
Yeah, I guess last time I talked to you, we was before the pandemic, I'm assuming, right?
It's
Last time we connected was right before the pandemic, right?
right. It's right, like right before, like I think about 3 to 4 months before pandemic.
Yeah. Okay. So this is, I guess, a good time to catch up because there's a lot that's happened
No,
since then.
actually, it was in May or April of 2020. It was like right when
Yeah.
it's just starting, no? Or it was just like maybe a month before? Because my
We'll
pod,
see. We'll see what Abuna thinks. Maybe it was just in the beginning of it, but I
yeah,
don't remember basically.
I think it was right beginning because my podcast didn't start releasing till May of 2020.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it. Okay. So,
but very
yeah,
fresh in the beginning because obviously we didn't talk about the actual like pandemic.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we didn't touch on that last time. So, in a nutshell, for me, the pandemic has been the perfect break that I didn't know I needed.
Mm.
I know that's tough to say because it's been a big impact for a lot of people. And of course, my heart goes out to the world with everyone dealing with this in so many different facets. But for me, it's been the reset. What I mean by that is I was busy doing a lot of different things,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't really being as productive or as efficient as I wanted to be. So
Mm-hmm.
what the pandemic did for me was narrow down on my focus and just pick one or two, three things that I wanted to focus on
Awesome.
to really allow me to be more effective in that. So I'm very grateful for this past year doing our best to really help encourage people to do the same thing and add value that way.
Yeah.
But it's been a blessing for me and our team to really be able to refocus, to recuperate, and figure out what we want to do next. Yeah.
It's awesome. So, what is the focus? So, I know you were doing the brand, like clothing brand Meraki Allure.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so yeah, so remember we talked about actually, it was actually off air. We talk
Yeah, yeah.
about helping you with streaming your fashion show. And that's when it was
Mm-hmm.
actually like just starting of pandemic because you were still
Yeah.
planning your fashion show. And
Oh, there you
then
go.
so yeah, so and then it kind of with restriction you have to like make a smaller crowd and then it's changed
Mm-hmm.
too. So you were working on that. I was a fashion show.
Yeah,
And just focusing on Meraki Allure and then
yeah,
something personal on the
yeah.
personal side or personal brand. I don't want to say it yet.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you were just left your the
My
full-time
corporate job.
job.
Yeah,
Yeah, your corporate
yeah,
job. So there was
yeah.
those three things happening, right? So where the
Exactly.
focus shift into now that you were saying it forced you, to make that choice.
Yeah. Good memory and good recollection there. So, the focus number one is still I call it my baby number one since I don't have children. So my businesses are my children. So baby number one is my passion, my heart, which is the clothing line. So
Mm-hmm.
we're very excited about that because we've been able through the pandemic solidify our online presence. So right now, in the next 90 days, we're in the midst of really solidifying what we want to do next and what type of storefront and projects that we want to do before the year is over so we can actually have a physical location um, on top of our online consulting that we already do. So that's focus number one.
Mm-hmm.
Focus number two is still the secret that you know about, only a few people know about. But that will officially be announced here within the next 90 days. I'm excited about it, as you already know, because it's the most intimate project that I've ever done in my life because it will cover everything from what it was like to immigrate to America, to learn English cold turkey, and be able to build that. And the third focus, which I can talk about, that is um, launching our lifestyle coaching services. So
Okay.
we created a new company called the American Allure, and so the AmericanAllure.com, under that lives our coaching services under the brand called MC Lifestyles. MC Lifestyles is where all of our coaching services are, but all of it lives under the AmericanAllure.com.
Mm.
So long
Mm-hmm.
story short, it's basically the clothing line, the passion to be launched here soon, and then the third thing is lifestyle coaching because I'm grateful for the life I've had in America, but I want to be able to also pay it forward to other people with the different resources that I've been blessed to have access to.
Yeah, so let's touch on that. The
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle coaching, or
Mm-hmm.
like you were mentioning, as an immigrant, you really blessed with the resources or maybe mentors that you had in your life.
Exactly.
What is that one thing you see that we as an immigrant
Mm-hmm.
notice first when we come here that
Mm-hmm.
people live in America often, I would say, like don't see or like don't see it as something bigger than how immigrant come in and see, like what is that one thing or maybe what is the resource that often
Mm-hmm.
get overlooked.
Yeah, that's a really good question. First thing is that English is harder than most people think it
Yeah.
is. Having to learn English is not an easy language. Let's just start
No.
there.
Yep. That's a
Let's
good
talk
one.
about that.
That is
Yeah,
a true
English.
because I'm still struggling with it now and I'm pushing myself towards actually writing more.
Hmm.
And I created the Medium page literally today. And in the
Uh-huh.
description, I put, I'm practicing writing in English and I speak 5 languages. So if you see
Yeah,
mistakes, just let me know because I want to
yeah,
improve.
absolutely.
That's the
It's
reality.
honest and it's transparent. I love it,
Yeah. So
But yeah,
English.
it's true. English is definitely a tough language to learn. I'm grateful that I came at a younger age because
Mhm.
it allowed me to assimilate to the culture faster. But um, so that's number one. Number two would be I was just on a clubhouse earlier talking about this topic, and the topic is what would you tell the 10-year-old version of yourself? What advice would you give the
Mhm.
10-year-old version of yourself? And to me, it would be that number one, don't be afraid to be yourself. Because
Mm.
as an immigrant, I was struggling to make friends. I was struggling. I was insecure about my accent. I was insecure about so many different things that it followed me all the way to college,
Mm.
you know? So you're talking about from 12 years old all the way to college, there were so many different insecurities about who I was, where I'm from, and all of these different things. But the beauty of life happens when you are fully confident in who you are,
Mm.
not from an egoistic standpoint, like I'm better than anyone, but that from a perspective that there's nothing wrong with me. It's okay to be myself, you know? So to me, that was one thing is that yes, you're an immigrant, but it doesn't mean you have to stop being yourself. You can morph into a better version of yourself, but you don't have to lose yourself in that transition. And that's not even just an immigrant message. That's a message for everybody because we everyone has, even Americans themselves have their own stories, their own fears or concerns that they may have, you know.
Right.
But
But I definitely want to add on that it's actually at the
mm-hmm,
layer of complexity of being
mm-hmm,
yourself when you're in a
mm-hmm,
different country. Because, I mean,
mm-hmm.
as a human being, we already taught to wear mask in a way in certain societies, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
when you move to a different country, you feel like now I have to fit in. So it's like
Mm-hmm,
add on another layer of like masquerading
mm-hmm.
yourself.
Absolutely. And I had multiple layers. I had multiple masks.
Well, it's just something that we thought we had to do to survive, right? Like I
Yeah.
think it's more actually comes down to the survival mode. Like you just think that you need that to survive in a
Mhm.
new place.
Yeah. I think you do. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
true. So, yeah, it's been a great journey and it's to similar to your journey of personal development. I think that's one of the key things about personal development is empowering you to be yourself and really to
Mm.
build the quality of life that you and your family deserve. That's the fundamental aspect of a lot of personal development. So it's just I'm deeply, deeply grateful to have been mentored by people or have met certain people at the right time and things like that. So now I'm just ready to pay it forward and hopefully build my legacy that way, little by little.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And then not only you were an immigrant, you had to
Mm-hmm.
overcome those challenges. You
Mm-hmm.
also, like work and then had a side hustle, right? So let's talk
Mm-hmm.
about
Oh yeah.
because that's main
Mm-hmm.
topic that I want to bring everybody in and help
Mm-hmm.
people to, and especially why I go live on LinkedIn because
Mm-hmm.
there's this stigma of having
Mm-hmm.
9 to 5 and then side hustling. How do you talk with your employer about, right? I know
Mm-hmm.
some people personally that
Mm-hmm.
actually during pandemic were given ultimatum. You either do your side hustle or you leave. Or like you
Mm-hmm.
don't do your side hustle anymore, you have to like focus on your 9 to 5. And they were given
Yeah.
an ultimatum, right? And we're still
Yeah.
living in the world where it's like we know through pandemic there were so many people that realized they need to do something besides their 9 to 5 because it was not safe
Yeah.
anymore. And
Yeah.
then it's become more acceptable to have it
Mm-hmm.
because people
Yeah.
understand, but still a lot of corporate doesn't understand it. So
Yeah.
share maybe with us like how you were doing your side hustle while having 9 to 5, juggling
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Um, I believe strongly in it. I really do believe strongly in having a side hustle unless you love what you do as a career,
Mm.
which most people statistically don't. Over 60% of Americans don't even like their job. Um, so for me, my last corporate job that I had before going full time with my business, I was there for 7.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in that 7.5 years, I survived many, many layoffs. One of the
Mm.
biggest layoffs I think I told you about before was they laid off 400 people in 15 minutes,
Wow.
you know? So when you see things like that happen, to me, I didn't panic. It was more like, oh, this is inspiration why I need to have a side hustle. This
Mm.
is inspiration why I need to do something. So the whole 7.5 years I was there, even before I launched my business, the last 2 years I was there, I always had a side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
The first two side hustles didn't work. So finally I launched my own business. uh, 2 years before I left corporate America. So to me, um, it all comes down to what your vision is and what freedom means to you. You know, I joke with my friends and family that I didn't come to America to save money. I came to America for freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, if I just came to make money, then, a secure job would do it in some cases, not in all cases. But I came for freedom. I want to be able to have a quality of life to give me a level of freedom so I can truly go out there and live out my purpose and make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
So for me personally, as soon as I would get off work around 5 p.m., from 6 to 9 p.m., that's when I was networking. That's when I was working on my business. That's when I was doing as much as I can, literally Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday. The evening time was always when I focused a lot on my side hustle. And of
Mm.
course, sometimes even during my lunch break or while I'm working, I'm multitasking, but we won't say that part on record. But we'll just say officially from 6 to 9, that's when I worked on my side hustle.
Well, so how
But
is your corporate job like? I guess react on it or your coworkers.
That's a great question. Obviously, everyone's setting might be different, but for me, it's also about how you carry yourself and
Hmm.
how you go about it.
Yep.
I never promoted my business at work
Mm.
until people would compliment me on how I dressed, and then I would tell them that excuse me, that it's from my line.
Mm.
So, depending on what your side hustle is, to me, in my opinion, um, keep it, is I don't want to say secret, but don't promote it at work openly because what you do is that you make yourself a target
Mm-hmm.
for your leaders to be like, oh, this is why she or he is not performing well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that still at the end of the day, you do well and do your job well because that's what's paying your bills at the moment, and then be able to focus on your side business. So for me, I kept it on the side as long as I could, but eventually they were complimenting on my clothes. They were complimenting me on things because most people at work just wore jeans and t-shirt, but here I was wearing blazers and nice clothes. They're like, this guy is doing too much, you know. But it worked for me because it made people ask questions. So depending on what your side hustle is, for most people it may not be fashion, so it'll be easier to keep it a secret. Because to me, that's another thing, another reason why I don't really bash corporate America, because it was because of my job. I had to fire the motivation to build my business. The corporate America is what funded my business in the beginning.
Right. Right.
So I still walked into my corporate job with gratitude, not like bashing the place, like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, I hate this place.
Right.
You know, there's no way I would have lasted 7.5 years if I walked in with that type of attitude,
Correct.
you know. So long story short, I believe tremendously in how you do it and how you carry yourself through the process. So that way it doesn't end up hurting your side hustle.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And I think now the stigma is also changing. Is not really bashing like 9 to 5. It's actually
Yeah.
a play. I think of it. It's like your angel investors in your startup or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
however you want to call it, or small little project, until you
Mm-hmm.
realize like, okay, this small little project, it's no longer a small little, it needs the
Mm-hmm.
growth, and that's when
Mm-hmm.
you're ready to leave and do
Mm-hmm.
something with it. But in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
you need the funding, right? So which is
Mm-hmm.
your 9 to 5 job. And I think
Mm-hmm.
having a side hustle is also about having option. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know really how corporate America will feel about, but I think that we are moving towards the time when they should be okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially like through pandemic, it's like, yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
if people have option to work with you, then they
Mm-hmm.
actually work with more joy because
Yeah.
it's optional and they actually choose to be there.
Yeah.
But they could
Yeah.
have an option to leave and do something
Mm-hmm.
on the side, which means that every time, like if pandemic happen again and you need to lay off people, you don't feel as bad
Mm-hmm.
as like, oh my God, like the whole family is gonna like, be dependent on this paycheck and now I have to like let them go, because you know that they have
Absolutely.
a side hustle to able to support them, their family. So
Yeah.
I hope that that stigma will change soon, but there is
Mm-hmm.
still a lot of like, I would say, unclear gray area there. And
Yeah.
one thing that I posted today on LinkedIn saying, well, if you finally have decided to have a side hustle, just to, and this is one thing that I learned from one of my mentors, say, well, don't assume that your 9 to 5 job or your manager is not okay with your side hustling, or assume that it's okay. Just ask. Like, come to them, or just to your manager, and ask, like, hey, I just started this side thing, doing it because of my hobby, and this is something I'm passionate about. I'm very clear on boundaries, when to work on this. I'm not going to use my work time to do this, so I hope that's just okay. So then they know upfront that's what you're up to, so there's no feeling of like something off going on, right? So because you already put it on the table, so there's no discussion for the, oh, what is that they're doing after hours, right? Like, so you already put it up front. And now I want to
absolutely agree with that.
Shift to the place now. What did you do, or what the mindset shift that needed to happen in you to actually finally decide that your side hustle is your main hustle, or like you want to completely focus on that? So I guess the question is, what is the mindset shift needed to happen, and like what it took for you to actually finally decide that, okay, it's no longer a side hustle, it has to be the main thing.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the answer to this is something that's very familiar to you already, which is you start with the end in mind. What is your why? You know, your why is the governor of your life. That's what's going to set the limitation, or it's going to free you in life. So to me, it was never about my corporate job. It was just, I wanted that job to be my last job ever. You know, from the day that I started, I was like, I don't want to be let go from this. I want to be the one to leave, you know? So every time I saw people be laid off, I was like, okay, now I got to spend more time on my business. I got to use that as urgency. Like, I got to work harder this week or this month, you know? So I think it starts with what is your why and what is the end game for you, you know? And as I mentioned earlier, for me, the end game was, I want to be free. I want to do something I love, because I've heard it said before that if at your job, if you want to see what your future is, look at the people that have been there 10, 15, 20 years longer than you at your job, and see if they have the life that you do. And without any offense to the people that I work with, because there's a lot of them that I love and adore, but they were still living paycheck to paycheck. It's not the life I wanted.
But that was their own personal choice too, right? So like, we're not to bash the choices that they have made or the lifestyle that they have. It's just more of being aware of your own personal choice, just not falling into default, like this is how it is, like, but rather asking yourself, how do you personally want it?
Exactly. And then also the other question is, do you want to be in control of your income? You know, because again, not bashing corporate America or any job for that reason, because again, I have a lot of people I respect in those fields, but it's also the fact of the matter is, when you have a job, you're not as much in control as you are when you determine your income as an entrepreneur. And that's not even to say that entrepreneurship is for everybody, because I don't believe that either. I don't think entrepreneur is for everybody, because it's a serious commitment and roller coaster sometimes that will test you like nothing else, you know? So, but in a nutshell, it starts with my why, what my vision for my life is, and what type of responsibility or accountability I want to have for my future. And for me, the best way to do that was to, number one, wake up every day excited about what I do. You know, I want to love what I do. You know, some people don't believe in it, and that's fine. But for my life, personally, it's important for me to love what I do, because I wake up with less stress. I wake up excited to actually live out every day. I control my schedule, and I get to choose who I work with. And that's another thing that you don't get to do at a work, you know? So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to ask the challenging question too, since I have started posting more about this idea that entrepreneurship has been really glamorized on social media and just through media, even in general, right? Because like people that have money has build
Mm-hmm.
something, they go onto media for PR and
Mm-hmm.
they talk about like what entrepreneurship has given them, and it became a little bit of gray area of what entrepreneurship is. It's like everything, you know, like if you have a side hustle and you have your own business and it's registered as LLC, you are entrepreneur, which is totally fine. But I want to ask the challenging question, which I think it's important to, you know, bring awareness to, is what role into entrepreneurship game do you want to play? Do you want to
Mm-hmm.
be a founder? Do you want to be a
Mm-hmm.
CEO? Do you want to be a
Mm-hmm.
COO? Do you
Mm-hmm.
want to, you know, like build something and then sell it? Like, do you,
Mm-hmm.
like, for you personally, like, what does that look
Mm-hmm.
like?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to look into that and let people, you know, to answer those questions for themselves. Because
Absolutely.
why I'm asking it, because when I started this journey, I thought of freedom, I thought of
Mm-hmm.
being my own boss, I thought
Mm-hmm.
of doing my own schedule, a lot of things that you mentioned. But then
Mm-hmm.
being
Mm-hmm.
in it for a year and a half, I realized
Mm-hmm.
like there's a lot of things that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
example,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to posting on social media to promote
Mm-hmm.
my business. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm building my business in that way where I personally have to touch less of social media,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I learned a lot of things that I don't want to do and have to
Mm-hmm.
reframe the idea of being my own boss for myself.
Yeah.
So back the question to you, what
Mm-hmm.
is, you know, entrepreneurship for you as more? Like what is that look like? And the freedom that
Great.
you're talking about.
Absolutely. Awesome question. Um, well, first and foremost, I had to learn the difference between a small business owner and entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a small business owner and not be an entrepreneur because entrepreneur is generally about leverage. It's about building something that doesn't necessarily depend on you 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
The small business owner, you're basically you you created a job for yourself.
Yeah,
If a small business
self-employed.
owner, exactly. Most small business owners, if they go on a month vacation, they're gonna freak out because they'll come back, their business will not be the same.
Mm-hmm.
But entrepreneurship generally is about leverage. It's about creating that can grow, something that can grow with or without you eventually, and you can choose to leave or have other people replace you within it if you can. So technically it's about freedom, but it has a lot more leverage component to it than being a small business owner, like an accountant or an attorney. Most of them are small business owners because if they leave the practice, it doesn't grow without them.
Mm-hmm.
So for the question you asked me, so as far as the things that I enjoy and uh, don't want to do, you're 100% correct about that because one thing I do know is that Mo is not a math guy. I'm not your finance guy. So right now, we're actually looking for a CFO to join us here in the next couple months because that's not my strength. What I want to focus on is the relationships building, the designing and production of the clothes.
Mm.
I want to focus on the branding and marketing of the business and really figuring out what the legacy and the vision of the company is overall,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But as far as even branding and marketing, I love the fact that with my business partner, I haven't touched our website in over 2 years. It's all him. I
Mm-hmm.
can review the content, I can go over products with him, but I have not had to touch the website at all because I appreciate, social media and things like that. But similar to you, I'm not interested in it. I just interviewed a social media company a couple of hours today because we're looking for that as well. Someone to just take over our website and social media because personally for me, I see the value, but I'm just not interested. It's not my
Right.
passion to be on social media consistently. Back in the day, I used to enjoy it more because I have my family overseas. I can connect with them on social media, but now we got WhatsApp. So I don't really have to be on social
Mm-hmm.
media as much. But for me personally, I agree with you 100% that it's important through that journey to figure out what are your strengths and weaknesses, but more important, what do you enjoy?
Yeah, I
And
call it a zone of genius. Like, what is your
mhm,
zone of genius? Like,
yeah,
where you can do the work and you just thrive and you just
hmm
like get, a lot of excitement doing that, and you're in the
Mm-hmm.
zone, like you just do it,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody else can
Mm-hmm.
do it too. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
important part too, like
Mm-hmm.
something that you enjoy, but it's not like it's not replaceable. So that's your zone of
Yeah.
genius.
Yeah. It doesn't drain you.
Yeah, you
It
can
it
do it
doesn't
all
drain you.
day, all night, and you just enjoy it, right? And then there are other
Exactly.
tasks in the entrepreneurship journey that you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I just numbers, it's just it's okay. I count my money okay for most part, but the rest of it, I need to hire someone else to take care of the rest because I don't enjoy it. I understand the basics because it's part of business, um, but I agree with you 100%. I think that's also part of this whole journey of personal development for me is to really have enough self-awareness of what Mo is good at and what he's not good at.
yeah,
You know, John C. Maxwell always talks about focus on your strength and forget about your weaknesses. Not to say that you shouldn't improve in your areas of weakness, but you're never gonna be a 10 in your weakness. The
yeah,
most you can be in your weakness is maybe a 6 or 7. But if you focus on your area of genius, like you said it so well, you can be a 10. People pay for that. That's what they pay artists for, to
yeah,
go see an artist $250 for a concert ticket. That's because they're performing in their zone, in their area of genius.
yeah.
Someone
No.
that goes to a concert to a guy that is a level 6, we're all gonna complain about that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's for sure a journey, of becoming an entrepreneur, just like overall.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to do those things still in the beginning, the things that you don't like, so
Mm-hmm.
that you know enough so that eventually you can leverage it, right? So, like, you cannot
Yes.
absolutely not know and just
Yes.
trust people
Mm-hmm.
blindly.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of still have to do those things.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
with that, I just want to wrap it up that if you doing a side hustle right now,
Mm-hmm.
just focus on your side hustle and do it to the point when you feel like, okay, something is changing, something is moving, and I do need to make a shift. And once you
Mm-hmm.
do, think about what role you want to, once you take this thing or like your side
Mm-hmm.
hustle as a
Mm-hmm.
main hustle, think about what role you want to play so
Mm-hmm.
that it can be sustainable. Because if you're just gonna end up being just a small business owner, as Mo mentioned, you're probably gonna burn out and hate
Mm-hmm.
your self-employed
Mm-hmm.
life. Because if you're leaving
Mm-hmm.
a job to be a self-employed, it's kind of like the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's great. And so what are you doing these days to help yourself to sharpen your mind and grow as an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Because it's a
That's
continuous growth, right? So we already talked about you shifting. Now, what are you doing for the next thing?
I love it. Well, that is the beauty of it. And also the facade that's out there as if personal development, you arrive in your life at some point, like you don't need any anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's the healthiest addiction that I have. It's like I'm always looking at what can I learn next? What can I improve next?
Mm-hmm.
Even
Mm-hmm.
in my daily discipline that we talked about last time, my meditations, like that's a non-negotiable. How I start my day, you know, and how I end my evenings, how I plan out the next days and things like that. So, but the other part of it is just take good inventory of the relationships in your life. That is such a priceless thing because when I look at my life and the people that have made a significant impact on me and how I met them, even similar to how I met you, is because of my 6 to 9 commitment to going to networking events,
Yeah.
years ago. If I was just sitting at home watching TV that day, I wouldn't have met you,
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing now in my life is what are the small things that I'm doing every day from my mental health to personal development, but really taking good inventory of the people that I spend time with and continue to grow that inner circle with quality people.
Yeah. So one last question, since you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned about like you're hiring a social media person and
Mhm.
all that, and you actually in the business of teaching people how to dress and how to, impress people with your
Mhm.
outlook, or like how can you
Mhm.
communicate your
Mhm.
world with people by like dressing up, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
one thing that in social media world right now, and just internet in general, is the thing called personal branding. So
Mhm.
I want to hear maybe, a couple sentence and your intake
Mhm.
on personal branding on
Mhm.
social media, because you mentioned you're
Mhm.
hiring a social media person. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think that building personal brand online is important? Like, do you think that building,
Mhm.
the style and all of that, this is what you
Mhm.
do, so you actually
Yeah.
corely believe in that, but what about the
Yeah.
outlook on social media?
Absolutely. I think it's, in my opinion, it's more relevant now than ever before
Mm-hmm.
because our presence is in more platforms and more places than ever before. So, one thing I'm very adamant about is how I carry myself online, even before I had my own business. So to me, I agree with you that it's very important to be able to dress how you want to be addressed, as I mentioned a lot in our social media, but also be congruent with what your message is. If you're partying on Instagram, but your LinkedIn is all clean and professional, like, you want to make sure that there's some type of congruency with who you are and you carry yourself. Of course, different platforms have their different purpose and niche, but just make sure that at least whatever image of you is showing up, whatever reputation is showing up on your social media is congruent with what your goals are and what you want out of life. Because
Hmm.
now more than ever, even employers are checking social media. So, even if you're not a business owner, it matters.
Yeah, well, I guess I want to add to that point.
Hmm.
I want to make sure that I understood it right, but
Hmm.
that in a way you're saying that you can curate your presence online, how you
Hmm.
get perceived. But I would
Hmm.
add my own like 2 cents to it.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
honestly, you cannot hide.
Hmm.
You can, even if you try to curate
Hmm.
information so well on Instagram and then
Hmm.
on like all the TikTok and all the other ones, people actually want to know you, through you, and who you are from different
Hmm.
angles. And
Hmm.
if whatever that you are sharing or portraying, it's not fully who you are in real world, people gonna
Hmm.
see. No matter
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
well you curate your
Hmm.
information and like image online, like how many good pictures you post, I do believe
Hmm.
that we are moving towards the world where like everybody's gonna have a life, like I mean a profile online, and people gonna see
Hmm.
through bullshit in a way. Like if
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
curating your image but you are not that
Hmm.
person in real life, it's still
Hmm.
gonna show. So it's just
Hmm.
my 2 cents, and I believe that where we are moving, like in the future, but I can be wrong. I don't know.
Oh, no worries. I mean, I agree with you. I think I was just talking from a point of assuming that we're all planning to be authentic. I don't believe in creating a persona that doesn't complement you
Mm,
or that's not the real
right.
you. I'm just talking from a place of authenticity and from a place of consciousness of how you present yourself. But I definitely do not believe in creating a persona that's fake or that's not in alignment with the truth who you are.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just being clear about it and making sure that it's not something happening by default, which is the case for most people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Great point. So, any last things you want to mention or talk about where people can find, and then where people can find you?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm actually gonna talk to Abhinav here when we get off because not only I need to catch up with him, but we can finally have a fashion show. So because of
Yay, it's
COVID, so we've
happening.
been it's finally happening. So I need to
Just a
talk to
year
you and
later.
Abhinav. Yeah, but because of COVID, it's not open to the public. But for anyone that's following you and that wants to meet you guys and work with us, we'll do an exclusive invitation to some people to join us. But we are celebrating our 5-year anniversary
That's
on
big.
June 5th and 6th.
Mm.
Thank you. So we're doing it at a winery. So we're doing for the first time a 2 day event.
Awesome.
Saturday, June 5th will be an outdoor fashion show. And of course, you and Abhinav are invited. And then Sunday, June 6th will be a mock wedding. So we're doing a fake wedding to actually promote our bridal side of things. So I would love to
Wow.
brainstorm with you and Abhinav to see what you guys want to do or attend or just as guests. But
Can I be a
I'm
bride?
excited. She wants to do it again. we, we actually have some bridal gowns we can use you for a photo shoot if you want to.
I was just
Uh,
joking. I don't know what the
yeah.
kind of model is.
But it'll be fun. But the point is that I would love to anyone that's listening to this. It's kind of a secret thing we've been doing. So this is my first time saying it publicly, but we're just excited because we have not been able to have an event in over a year.
Hmm.
So we're super grateful to have this winery open their doors to us and allow us to actually host an event. And it's a 2 day event, and we get to basically celebrate the fact that we survived the pandemic and we're moving forward.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome. That's so
yeah.
cool. I love the idea of, celebrating 5 years because, it's
Hmm.
the big thing. It's a 5 years old baby. And now you're celebrating
Hmm.
it with the actual wedding. So that's awesome. So I'll make sure to link up your website down in the comment section so that people can find you. And just go follow Mo and American Allure, Meraki Allure, and the secret project that is coming up. So I think if you give Mo a follow, then you can still stay up to date to all the exciting project that's coming up.
Thank you so much. It's
Yeah,
always
thank
fun to
you.
connect with
Thank
you guys.
you.
Yeah.
Well, for everybody else, thank you so much for watching this. If you're watching in replay and you have any questions or any guests that you want to see on the Fireside Chat with me, you're welcome to send me a DM or email me or put in the comment section. I am available all across social media platform. You can even find me on TikTok. So yeah, just get in touch with me if you want to be on the Fireside Chat and talk about side hustle, entrepreneurship, publishing online. Let me know and hit me up, and would love to have you on my show. Well, thank you so much for listening, and till next Thursday.